Like, I missed out on the Rio Olympics by 25 centimetres, and that was pretty hard to swallow.
I personally felt I'd let her down. We hadn't made it. We had done everything that we could to try to get her there, and I always still try and think back and think, you know, how could it possibly have just got her to throw a little bit further?
It was definitely like probably the first big thing that I'd failed at in my life, one of those really big goals that I hadn't achieved, and so it feels really good to have knocked off that qualifier. Hi, my name is Julia Ratcliffe. I am 28 years old and I am a New Zealand hammer thrower. I'd say the Commonwealth Games have been my favourite competition so far, not just because of the results, but just because of the atmosphere, and like those multi-sport big games are just so much fun. You get to be part of a wider New Zealand team, there's the village, and it's just really cool because it's on this massive stage. Just holding it together out in the big arena is such a valuable skill, and something that I know going forward I'll be able to back myself to do, because that's my strength, is going out there regardless of if it's raining. I've thrown a couple of typhoons and some pretty extreme weather conditions, but holding it together during those times is kind of a strength of mine. Dad has coached me my whole career, and ever since we were little, me and my sister were both involved in sport. We played hockey, netball, and we did athletics from a really young age as well, so just going along to the local club night for Hamilton City Hawks, so that's the club that I'm still part of today, which is really cool. When I was about 13 or 14 or so, the sprinters learnt how to hurdle properly, and so that was the end of my glorious hurdles career. And so Dad kind of thought that I should maybe try the hammer throw, because he kind of looked at my body type and said she's really strong, she's pretty good at picking up technical skills really quickly, and so yeah, we kind of got into all the throws, but the hammer throw was something that I think he thought not many people did, so there was the potential to go really far in it, and that I might have the physical attributes to be good at. Up. Yeah. He is a very resourceful man, gets a bit obsessive about things, and he kind of just did as much research as he could. But he was buying these really badly translated Russian throwing books that former world record holders had written, and contacting other coaches and just trying to network overseas. Yeah, I think at one stage in my career he sent some video of mine to the world record holders coach. And I was like, Dad, you can't do that. But they replied, because the throwing community is so small that kind of people are like, oh yeah, we'll give you a hand.
Gradually you could see her potential increasing over time. And we never imagined that we would be where we're at the moment, on the verge of sort of an Olympic debut. And we just kept on working steadily day by day. And things just got better and better. And here we are today.
Pretty crazy kind of how far we've come from what we started with, and how much we've learned together over the time. So the Ivy League universities, I really loved it. I had such an epic time. It was really hard work, and I think sometimes Mum says, oh, you look back on it really fondly, but we heard a lot of the complaints and a lot of this is so hard. But yeah, it was obviously the first time spending an extended time away from home, which I didn't get too homesick just because everything was so go, go, go all the time. But definitely first time away from coach. It was the first time that I really had to take ownership of my throwing, I think. It was something that Dad had always pushed and said, you can have a lot of opportunities, and as a kid you kind of I feel forced to do this, and not really seeing the bigger picture. And so it was the first time that I had to get myself out of bed to go to training, and I had to do it all myself basically. And I obviously had the support of the coaches and my teammates over there, but it definitely felt a lot different than training at home, and Dad's with me every step of the way. So I think that was just a big growing up moment, and also it was a cool turning point in my journey, because it was definitely, I'm doing this for me now, I'm not just doing it for Dad. So
I'm immensely proud that I don't have to sort of help her along as much as I used to. She actually pushes herself along and she motivates herself quite a bit herself. So I'm extremely proud now that I think I could most probably walk away and she would be possibly really successful without me and carry on and do really well. So it's good that they sort of progress and they become less and less reliant on you. I think that's a really good thing, because at some stage you're not there.
I think that's the first one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty stubborn, like when it comes to like setting habits and sticking to them. Like I'm pretty good at just forcing myself to kind of go through these routines. And so even in those periods that you kind of lose your why or stuff's really hard, like showing up is half the battle, and just like getting yourself out of bed, going through your warm-up, and when you're already halfway through it, you're kind of like, well, I may as well finish the session. And so like, I don't know, I think some athletes really kind of bring their best selves to training every day, but I think like that's really hard to do, and not many athletes would say that they do that 100% of the time. And so I think actually just putting the work in and just actually not quitting and just showing up is half the battle. And so obviously you have your good days and your bad days, but just kind of hours of training under the belt is huge.
That was cool. Thank you.
So I actually took some time off training, or kind of full-time training, to pursue a career as well, because that's something that's always been really important to me. And so I took a little bit of time off full-time training and went down to Wellington, where I was lucky enough to get a graduate position at the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. So I started as an economic analyst there and did 18 months full-time with them. It was heaps of fun, met lots of really cool people who still like support me and have kind of really got on board with the throwing journey. Yeah, so it's just really good. It keeps me connected with the life outside of sport, which again is really important to me. So I think my family, my mum and my sister in particular, they're part of the family unit, and they've kind of had to deal with living with an athlete and coach. Most people just get one, they get both, lucky them. Yeah, so kind of mum's had her backyard taken over with a hammer cage. I often destroy her garden with wayward hammers. Yeah, and things like going on family holidays, like we haven't really been able to do that for a really long time because of training, and because that's like Dad's priority and my priority is both training. It's not like the parents versus the kids. It's like, it's kind of like the athletes versus the non-athletes, in terms of competing priorities at least. And so they've just been absolute champs. Like I know that it hasn't been easy for them, and so they've just been really, really supportive, and I'm super grateful for them. At the moment, like a medal at the games is the goal. Like I'm not there to just fill up the numbers. Like I want to go out and just absolutely smoke it. So that's the plan at this stage. And honestly, I haven't really thought too much after that. Like I think COVID's just taken so much out of everyone, and just getting to the games. Like I'm not sure many people have thought too far. Well, I definitely haven't thought too far ahead after that. So I think we'll kind of get back and reassess and see what the plan is from there.